All right, I am out here in Georgetown in Washington, D.C., and I got my partner, Kristen, with me. And Kristen, we're going to be talking today about 7 reasons why you might not want to move here to Washington, D.C. She is licensed in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, and you've also lived here in D.C. for 10 years, correct?
Right.
So who not better than her to tell us the 7 reasons why you might not want to live here in D.C., so let's get right into the video. All right, Kristen, so number 1, I've lived in the DC area my whole life, I know is traffic. So what is the traffic like though if you were living here in the city?
The traffic is still going to be really bad, but you can also walk, you can ride a bike. That's what I would recommend doing.
Take the metro.
Take the metro, yes.
Uber, all those other things like that. So like just getting, if I was like going to go from like here to Georgetown to like Capitol Hill, that could still be like a 30-minute drive, 45-minute Uber ride. What is something like that?
30 to 45 minutes, I would say.
So pretty much like if you were going to be moving here into DC, you have to plan on traffic being a part of your life.
Exactly.
And then also if you're coming from like a Northern Virginia or Maryland and you're coming into the city, it can get expensive with tolls and all that and then driving around the city right now. So we're here in Georgetown. Like what is the pricing like in here if someone wanted to move into Georgetown?
The median price point is $1.5 million.
So it's not very cheap, right? But there's a lot of like renovated houses. Like what are the houses like?
The houses are renovated, but sometimes they're not. It's kind of a nice mesh of like old colonial and modern. Modern
styles, okay, cool. And then one other thing is like here in Georgetown, speaking of traffic, I see people walking around everywhere. Is that usually like daily life here in Georgetown? There's a lot of tourists, what's that like?
DC is such a walkable city. You can walk to the other end of DC if you'd like.
Right.
That's how I would get around, is just walking.
Right, so okay, so if I was a first time home buyer or something, I probably wouldn't want to buy a house here in Georgetown, right?
Right, I would start with a condo maybe first.
Yeah, a little condo or something. All right, so number 1 is gonna be traffic. Let's keep going around DC and we'll tell you about our 7 reasons why you might not want to move here. All right, Kristen, so in the car here, you were telling me number 2, which would be it's a really transient area. So tell me a little bit more about that. Like what exactly does that mean?
People are coming in and out of the city for work every few years or so. And so you meet people and then they have to move. And
right, and then your kids do too, right? Like your
yes.
kids might meet somebody and then they're like in school with them for 2 or 3 years and then the kid moves away, right?
Right, yeah, so that's one of the difficult things about it being here, but at least it's a huge melting pot and you have an opportunity to meet a lot of different people that you wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah, so when you lived here for like 10 years, did you have a lot of friends moving in and out all the time?
I did, and now they live all over the country.
All over the country?
Out of the country.
Yeah, what I found too is if you're thinking about moving to DC and you like the area, a lot of people will go out to Northern Virginia or Maryland and things like that. And we can definitely help you in those areas as well. Like we're out here in the Embassy Row, and you can see all these beautiful embassies, right? I'm assuming these people are probably pretty transient, right?
Right, of course, because they have people coming in and out every few years.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, let's keep talking about DC and the different things that you might not like about it. But like I said, the transient thing isn't the end of the world. But just keep in mind, you're going to be meeting a ton of new people all the time. All right, Kristen, number 3 I had DC is super expensive. I have no idea where we're at. We did stop by a restaurant real quick for lunch and I ran into one of my friends, but where exactly are we right now?
We are in Logan Circle.
So how much is like it to live in a neighborhood like this?
You know what, it depends. Like you can go from $400,000 for a basement apartment condo, or you can go upwards towards a couple million. It just depends. Right,
it depends on like what you're looking for.
Right.
But DC is pretty expensive to live in general. Like we were just in Georgetown and it was like 1.5 million. So does it all depend on the area you're in? Is all of DC expensive?
You know what, I think it just depends on the square footage.
Right.
If the smaller you go, the more affordable it is. The bigger the square footage, the more expensive it is.
And of course the location as well. Notes. You were telling me something like you have to pay for some of the parking around here. Like how much does that look like?
So you can park on the street, but if you look at this sign.
Okay, yeah, all right. I'm not used to this in Virginia, but what is this?
You have to move your car from 9:30 to 11 for street sweeping. And then sometimes you don't have to. It's like halfway through the year. And if you're looking for a permanent parking spot, it's going to cost you upwards to $50 grand.
$50,000 for a parking.
Permanent, yes.
So like if I was going to buy a condo or something or a house and I needed an additional parking spot, I would have to buy that. So it's almost like New York City or something, right?
Or you could buy a parking spot and rent it out.
Right, yeah, that's true too. So honestly, like one of my next cons is, like on Instagram, people go crazy about this, is there's like speed cameras everywhere. Like, tell me a little bit more about that.
Always use Waze.
Always, because you can like get around them. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you could be like driving down like Constitution Avenue or something, and like, how much do those cost?
Oh my God, I think they're around 100 to 200, depending on how many offenses you have.
Right, yeah. So like the speed cameras and all that can get really annoying. Trust me, as a tourist who lives in Virginia and comes into DC, I've gotten hit with a few of those. Is that something that happens to a lot of the locals, or you guys like figure it out?
You figure it out. You have to put on Waze anywhere you're going, which it helps with the congestion too. So a lot of streets shut down, but if you use Waze, it lets you know.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool, guys. We're going to talk about the negatives of living here in DC. Like I said, it can get expensive, but you can get a condo in here around $400,000. Not extreme, by the way. If you're thinking about buying or selling, me or Kristen can definitely help you guys. I'm licensed in DC as well as she is. But Shane, I want to take them somewhere else and show them some of the cool spots, but also talk about some more negatives of DC. All right, so as you're about to get in number 5 here, Kristen is getting a ticket. Kristen, that's never happened to me as somebody who lives out in suburbia USA. Is that pretty common around here in DC?
Yeah, it happens all the time. Damn it. He already got me.
Oh, he did?
Yep.
All right. Oh, good. All right, well, let's get out of here then. How much is a ticket like that? Like you said, 40, 50 bucks?
40-ish, 45. I can't remember exactly what it is. It's different for different areas.
Right, all right, yeah, guys, so you can tell it can be a pain. All right, so number 5 is gonna be protest, right? DC, the capital for protest, and it can get congested. Like, what is that like as someone who lives in a DC for like a local?
I think it's amazing, first of all, to be able to protest. But when it comes to driving in the city, it gets so congested, and then you have to go this way or that way, and you have to reroute your entire way to get in and out of the city.
And they like shut down a lot of the city, the certain streets, right? Especially too, like I've been here before and the president's coming through. Does that shut down a lot as well?
The motorcade, yes.
The motorcade, yeah. So definitely keep in mind like protests, especially if there's like a big Supreme Court decision or something like that. That's gonna be part of life. We only got 2 more for you guys, so let's keep talking about Washington, DC. All right, Kristen, anyone who has watched me before on YouTube or Instagram knows I am more of a suburban person, like the Northern Virginia area or Maryland area. And we also service those areas as well if you're thinking about buying or selling a home out there. But one thing I've noticed is tourists walking around everywhere. That would drive me nuts if there were tourists everywhere in Northern Virginia. So how is that a bad thing?
I mean, they do drive me nuts, but I can see why they're here because we have free museums. We have the Capitol. We have the Lincoln Memorial. I don't blame them for coming here.
Yeah, that's true. There is a lot to do here. And like she said, the museums are free. Like my in-laws came from Bolivia. We went to a bunch of museums for free, but doesn't it get annoying though? Because I know like last year they broke a record for the most amount of tourists, but that's got to get annoying at some point.
It does. It gets super congested because they shut down the roads. There's buses everywhere. There's scooters everywhere. There's bikes everywhere, but you just learn to deal with it when you live here.
Right.
It's part of life.
And we were talking in the car,
Yeah.
I think number 7 is gonna have to be the congestion. You were saying there's like a lot of construction going on around here. Like what is that like?
Yeah, there's cranes popping up all over Noma. You know, they're replacing potholes.
Building apartments.
There's just so much that they're building here.
Right.
And that's why.
Yeah, now, all right, so if I was someone watching this channel and I was like, I wanna live in the city, you're more of a city person than me,
Yeah.
why would you wanna live here in DC?
Because there's so much more to do.
Right, yeah, okay, I agree with you, but like, there is a little more to do, but like, I like having my yard and my garage, like what else is there to do? You know?
But I mean, you have phenomenal restaurants. You have nightclubs if you want to go clubbing. You have national parks if you want to go hiking. You have...
I definitely don't want to go hiking, okay? You know what I mean? You can tell what type of shape I'm in. Then yeah, like you definitely have the nightclubs, we got the sports teams, all kinds of things like that. What's like the housing like though? I want to touch on that a little bit more. Is there single families, condos, row house? What's it like?
There's single families if you're in the upper northwest, down to southeast and northeast. Not so much in southwest, but there's a lot of condos, there's a lot of co-ops. A lot of people don't know what co-ops are, but we have a ton of them in DC.
Yeah, and that's something that I just called you Kristen. You see how much I love myself, folks? I called her Kristen. This is how much Kristen can help you. She knows DC really well. She also services Virginia, and Maryland. And like I said, DC, totally different animal than living in Northern Virginia or something like that. But so many more different housing options. You can go anywhere from $300,000 up to $10 million, like Jeff Bezos'
More
place.
than that.
Whatever. Yeah, more than that, right? Whatever you want. So I hope that you guys like this video. We're gonna be doing more content on DC. Any final thoughts for them about DC?
Just come and visit. You're gonna fall in love with the city.
Come and visit and buy a house, by the way. All right, guys, definitely subscribe.